These are some of the most disturbing cases that happened in the Overwatch community, and as the video goes on, things only get progressively worse. In 2016, Overwatch was a top-selling game and it was producing popular pro players that people followed. One of those pro gamers was one of the most talented players in the league, and some experts even predicted that he would win the Most Valued Player award for that competitive season. Jonathan Dream Casper Sanchez was born on October 13, 1997 and raised in Hammett, California, a city in the US, and at just 19 in late 2016 he became a professional Overwatch player. Right at the beginning of his career he played for smaller North American teams, including Spice Boys and Tempo Storm, that are ranked just below the top leagues. These were semi-professional teams that competed online and at live events, and even though the teams he played for didn't win often, Jonathan still stood out because of his gaming skills. Just 11 months into his professional career, on October 26, 2017, Boston Uprising, a pro video gaming team, signed Jonathan up to compete in the Overwatch League's first season, which is a major international competition for professional gamers. After this, Jonathan climbed up the rankings and became super popular in the Overwatch community for his ability to master multiple in-game roles. He was a standout star among American and European players and was expected to become an important player for the US team in the 2018 World Cup. With his rising popularity, he interacted with many of his fans, but some of these interactions were on a more personal level than others. A girl who I will call Judy was a high school junior who had recently purchased Overwatch for her Xbox One, and the very first game that she tuned in to watch was New York versus Boston Uprising. A team that she supported was Boston Uprising, a team that she said was promising and had special energy, and like most fans did, she went through the team's roster and then followed her favorite players on Twitter. But out of all the players that she followed, Judy only got a response from one of them, and that was Jonathan. It was the middle of January 2018 when she received a message from him thanking her for following him on Twitter, and at first, Judy thought it was an automatic message that was sent to every new follower, so she only sent back a heart emoji, not expecting a message back. But to her surprise, he replied, and she was flattered. Jonathan and Judy started to chat, and from the beginning, he seemed to be very open with her, and he would share stories about his childhood, and even send her goofy pictures. Jonathan and Judy would joke with one another, send each other memes, and talk about games. And according to her, right from the start, he was very flirty and even told her how pretty he thought she was. But then the conversations shifted, and Jonathan would steer things toward the size of his private part. Soon, Jonathan asked Judy for her number, and once he had it, they began texting and even video calling. She could tell there was an undertone to the messages, but she brushed it off like they were just regular friends who made inappropriate jokes with one another. Before long, they were texting every day and video calling almost every night, complimenting and flirting with each other. Jonathan told her that she was perfect for him and that he wanted her to model for him. Judy and her mother had planned to travel to Santa Barbara to visit her grandmother in February, and while she was chatting to Jonathan on February 12th, she mentioned it. He lived in Los Angeles, and when he heard about the trip, he responded,
"Oh, that's like 2 hours away from me."
It didn't take Jonathan long to start making plans for them to meet up, and he even offered to let Judy stay with him for the weekend. Judy told him that she wasn't sure if that would work because she was staying with her mum and didn't know how to tell her she was going to stay at some random guy's house in a different state. The next day, on February 13th, when Jonathan and Judy spoke, she mentioned that she was 4 feet 11 inches. That's about 1.5 meters tall, to which Jonathan replied,
"Aw, I can't wait to pick you up."
After saying that, he turned the conversation toward the size of his private part once again and went on to tell her that
it won't go away.
In that same chat, he said,
"It's like I always say, I don't have a dirty mind, I just have a naughty imagination."
The weekend to Santa Barbara came and went, and Jonathan and Judy didn't meet up. And this was something that he was not happy about. He told Judy she was flaky and even guilted her for not seeing him. Soon after the California trip, Jonathan asked her what date her birthday was, and she told him it was July 9th, 2001. That made her below the legal age at the time. When she told him her age, he responded by telling her that he was only 2 years older than her, which made him 18 years old. She jokingly responded by calling him an old man. What she did not know at the time was that he was lying to her and was actually 20 years old, 4 years older than her. That same day, just a couple hours later, Jonathan then offered to pay for a flight to bring Judy to Los Angeles regardless, but Judy declined, claiming she didn't have any money to spend once she's there. But in reality, Judy later said that she knew her mother would never allow her to meet an online stranger. Jonathan then took things a step further, and despite her saying no to his previous offer, he went ahead and bought her a ticket anyway. Because the ticket was already paid for, she didn't want to make him feel like he had wasted his money, and she tried to see what she could do to go and meet him. Judy then went to her parents and asked them if she would go see Jonathan, and they both said no because they saw red flags. Needless to say, Judy never went, so she did not meet Jonathan in person. Eventually, Judy told him that she had asked her parents and they had said she could not go, and she said that she really owed him. In the time that followed, she apologized every chance she could and even offered to pay him back because she didn't want him to hate her. With that, he then told her that he expected jaw-dropping pictures from her and added,
"You rarely send them, though."
To this, Judy replied,
"You don't send me anything either."
And he responded saying that the reason he didn't send her pictures was because he didn't owe her anything. After that, Jonathan sent her photos of himself wearing only sweatpants with the outline of his manhood clearly visible. And feeling pressured, Judy sent him several pictures where she was only wearing a bra. But these weren't enough for Jonathan, and he wanted more pictures and even made comments about how she'd look in thigh-high socks. He also asked her why she was wearing a bra, so she eventually sent him explicit images of herself without it. After the exchange of these photos, the conversation between them slowly faded, and then Judy stopped talking to Jonathan altogether. On April 6, 2018, Jonathan texted Judy again to catch up, and they texted back and forth for a couple of days until April 8th. What Judy did not know at the time was that while Jonathan had been chatting to her, he'd also been talking to someone else. Lily was part of an Overwatch League fan group, and in early February 2018, Jonathan followed Lily on Twitter, and just like Judy, she was flattered when he followed her and chatted with her. In reality, he connected with her at a time when she was feeling particularly vulnerable because she had just gotten out of a relationship. Not very long after the two connected, Jonathan bought Lily a PC copy of Overwatch, and they started to play together, and sometimes his other teammates would join in too. And during this, Lily told Jonathan that she was 3 years under the legal age and 5 to 6 years younger than him, but he continued chatting with her anyway. Over the first few days of them talking to one another, Jonathan became increasingly flirty toward Lily, and even told her she was beautiful. At first, Lily shrugged off his advances, but as they continued to chat, their conversations became more intimate, and by February 10th, 2018, the messages had turned explicit. That day, early in the evening at 7:13 p.m., he sent a message to Lily that read,
"Hold me, please."
She responded to that message within a minute and said to him that he played really, really well. Jonathan then texted her back and said in caps,
"I said, hold me."
Lily then replied, saying that she was sorry. Then 2 days later, on February 12th, Lily asked Jonathan if he had any nicknames that she could call him, and he replied,
"I don't know, I'm called Daddy Dream sometimes, LOL, or Dreamy."
He went on to say that only one person had ever called him Caspi, and so Lily settled on Kaz, and he agreed. On Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2018, Jonathan sent a message to Lily saying that he was thinking of something that was explicit. Lily responded, saying that he had to tell her what he was thinking, and said,
Well, I was like, I wonder if it would feel weird if you were to give a intimate assistance with those hands.
Later that very same day, Jonathan texted her saying,
"Call me Sugar Daddy Dream."
and again saying that he thought she was a model the first time he saw her. The messages between the two continued, and soon Jonathan gave Lily his Snapchat username, and they continued their private chats there. In Jonathan and Lily's chats, he even called her his dream girl, and soon Lily developed real feelings for Jonathan. They even called each other very often, and some of these calls were short, while others were much longer and were all at different hours of the night and day. Their conversations were mostly intimate, and Lily sent Jonathan 2 explicit photos of herself, and Lily sent Jonathan 2 explicit photos of herself, and he sent her a shirtless photo and others in just boxers. And, according to her, they would often video call each other while they were naked. Now, obviously, Lily wasn't the only person that Jonathan was following. In fact, he decided to follow a few of Lily's friends on Twitter as well, and Lily even went ahead and added him to their group chat, where most of the people were younger people. In this group chat, Jonathan said many of the same inappropriate things that he would say to Lily in their private chats, and he would even jokingly ask for explicit pictures and speak about watching adult content. And that was not all, because he would even speak in the group chat about the first time he was intimate with someone. But then something changed, because between March and April 2018, Lily spoke to her friends about what was happening between her and Jonathan. After talking to her friends for about a month, she realized he'd been taking advantage of her. On March 7th, 2018, Lily sent Jonathan a message asking him if she could tell him something, and once she received a short answer from him, she went ahead and said,
I like you a lot. Like, I haven't felt this way about someone in a long time. You give me butterflies, and no one has done that in a really long time. But I don't know what the duck we are doing. All I know is that video calling is unhealthy for both of us.
Jonathan answered Lily, saying that he'd been
Thinking of that the night before,
and then went on to say,
we should probably stop talking like that and stay to Snapchat. I don't know.
Once she had broken all contact with Jonathan, Lily finally learned that she was not the only girl that he had been talking to and that he actually had a girlfriend too. Jonathan knew exactly how old Lily was and even had someone reach out to him after rumors that he was messaging a younger person started circulating. When he responded to the message, he said that he wasn't doing anything stupid and that he knew she was below the legal age. At the time, Jonathan was doing pretty well professionally, and on April 7th, he officially secured his role as a top player in the game. He'd also proved himself as one of the league's best players when he helped the Boston Uprising defeat the Houston Outlaws in Stage 3 of the Overwatch League. The very next day after securing his role on April 8th, 2018, Lily uploaded a Google Doc to Twitter with screenshots of their conversations, exposing what he'd been doing in private. This document caught the attention of Boston Uprising because later that same day, Overwatch League and the team released official statements on Twitter saying that Jonathan had been suspended pending investigation. But there were more surprises in store for Jonathan because the following day, Judy came across Lily's statement and screenshots of the conversation she and Jonathan had, and after seeing them, Judy was left physically shaking. Judy said that everything Jonathan sent to Lily matched up to what he had sent to her. The same pictures, lines, and moves. In tears and confused, she decided to go to her mum, who I will call Donna, for advice. She then told Donna that her friend, Jonathan, had been accused of being a PDF. Donna knew that Jonathan was an Overwatch player, but what she didn't know was that her daughter thought of herself as Jonathan's girlfriend. After hearing Judy's story, Donna asked her to block and keep her distance from him, and that is what she did.
Hi. I'm so glad you came. I'll be right back. I just have to get my bathing suit on.
Oh, nice.
Judy followed the story online and soon saw all the hateful comments flooding Lily's Twitter and that people were calling her a liar. She couldn't sleep knowing that Lily was going through all that alone and knew that she had to do something, so she reached out to Lily on Twitter. Unfortunately, when Judy tried to message Lily, she found that her DMs were closed, so she contacted someone else who was already speaking out publicly about the case. This person connected her with other girls and eventually a journalist who helped protect her identity. By Monday, April 9th, 2018, Jonathan's contract with Boston Uprising was formally and permanently terminated, and he went silent. Then, 1 year and 6 months later, on October 17th, 2019, he finally broke his silence, saying,
I know it's been a long time since I've reached out to anyone, but it's been really difficult and scary to even communicate or speak to anyone. It still is. I've made bad decisions in my life that I take full responsibility for and will not make any excuses regarding it. I really want to apologize to everyone that I hurt during this situation and those that were involved in it. Ever since that incident, I've been repenting for my actions and working on myself to change because I want to become a better person to those around me. I'm truly sorry to the people that were once inspired and looked up to me, including past friends, teammates, fans, and also the community, as I feel that I've let them all down. I will continue to strive to work my hardest and improve myself as a person and a player. I cannot change what has happened in the past, but I will work to be a better person for the future. I know it might be difficult for anyone to forgive me for my actions, and I'm not asking for forgiveness, but it's never too late to make things right.
In his apology, he named his teammates, fans, and organization, but not the girls who had been harmed in the situation. Jonathan then went on to join the roster of Dark Mode Esports, but left almost a month later on November 8th, 2019. On his Liquipedia player profile page, his status reads banned, and in his short career, he had managed to win approximately $13,774. In this case, Jonathan was banned from competitive play and never returned, but the next case is messier, and it turns into a public battle where both sides tell entirely different stories.
That we knew that we were trying to protect him?
It was March 6th, 2025, and a well-known professional Overwatch player was streaming on Twitch when someone told him,
Yo, check Twitter.
And he did. Because he was live, his reaction to what he saw on Twitter was seen by his followers, and he ended his live stream shortly after that. Xander Newish DeWitt was born in Australia on February 19th, 2001. By 2021, the 20-year-old had moved to America and was building a name for himself as a content creator. In 2026, Xander shared online that he is autistic autistic and has special needs, but he never let any of his personal challenges stop him from building a really strong following online. His YouTube channel had over 12,000 subscribers, and he had 2,900 followers on Twitter and more than 41,000 followers on Twitch. Xander eventually joined popular groups in the Australian Overwatch scene, including the competitive team, the Great Showman, and the Hatsune Miku fan club, known as MFC. Despite the name, MFC was not a fan group. It was a tight-knit, highly competitive organization with its own roster and representatives. In February 2021, a mutual friend introduced Xander to 18-year-old Volsi, and the two started chatting on and off, and then according to Volsi, within a few months, they moved in together. 34 months would pass, and suddenly information would surface online that would lead to a chain of unsettling events. In December 2023, a friend of Volsi's, a woman by the name of April, posted a document on Reddit claiming to expose what she called Xander's abusive behavior. While April's original document is no longer available online, a short statement from her about it still is. In this statement, she confirmed that she created the first document about Xander and that she was close friends with Volsi during Volsi's relationship with him. She said that she knew about the disturbing things he was doing and that he cheated on Volsi with a girl who went by the online alias Housewife. According to her, she heard Volsi cry about the things Xander was doing and said,
"I had utter disgust for him."
Then April went on to say that she had been working on the document she's released for a while but had no proof and didn't want to get involved at the time because she was scared and wanted to stay anonymous. But she said she believed that the information about Xander should be out there. Allegedly, when April released the document, it damaged her friendship with Volsi, but added that after a lengthy apology, Volsi reached out to her and asked for help with a new document. The original document never got much traction, and Volsi also never confirmed whether the allegations were true or not. But after April's original document was released, Volsi later claimed that Xander contacted her and asked her not to speak about the issue. At the start of his conversations with Volsi, screenshots showed that Xander told her that he might end himself because of the Reddit doc which showed her private DMs with April. He also allegedly offered to pay her $5,000 if she helped deny what April had said in the post about him. The conversation continued, and he allegedly then upped his offer to $10,000 for her to post a tweet about the allegations and told her that doing that would save his life. Volsi responded and asked Xander,
"What about when it was all happening?"
And he responded, saying that he was being selfish and told her that he had learned his lesson and that he had stopped talking to random girls. Then he went on to say that he couldn't stop thinking about what had happened between them when they were together. Now, in a follow-up conversation, Xander reached out to Volsi, saying that he was anxious, and he asked her exactly what she had told April. That's when Volsi started to talk about things he had done to her during their relationship, things like violence and assault. But then Xander replied, saying that he didn't remember any of it and apologized to her for whatever had happened. He also said that he didn't love Housewife, and Volsi said that it seemed to her like he did. And that's when he admitted that he only kept talking to Housewife so that she wouldn't expose him. After this conversation, things seemed to settle down, and Xander continued on with his life. But then on March 6th, 2025, when he was live, he was told to look on Twitter, and that's when he came across a link to a 4-page Google Doc that was entitled Newish Document. The person who shared that document was Volsi, and in it she shared her version of what happened between her and Xander during their relationship. She started off by saying that she couldn't remember exactly when they officially started dating, but according to Xander, there had been many off and on moments between them. Volsi claimed that she moved in with Xander a few months after they had started dating because, according to her, one of his roommates was moving out, so there was a spare bedroom in the home. Volsi also added that Xander and Housewife had been talking to one another before she was even in the picture, and once Xander and Volsi had figured it out, he got angry with her. And then there were a bunch of screenshots she'd collected over the years that she believed proved he had a relationship with Housewife. The message starts off with Volsi telling Xander that he drops everything for Housewife. He replied saying,
"No, keep assuming. What is the actual issue?"
Clearly upset, Volsi then replied to him saying,
"And when it comes to, stopping talking to her, it's, I don't know how to leave. I can't just leave."
Xander then responds,
"You are so dumb. You know exactly why I'm trying to be on good terms with her. Now shut the duck up and stop repeating the same nonsense every week. I'm ducking sick of it. Keep crying, keep getting upset. I don't care since it's just crocodile tears. If you actually cared about me and weren't being selfish, you'd understand why I have to do this. Grow the duck up."
Now, while Volsi and Xander were discussing the problem with Housewife, he was also talking to Housewife. In one message, Housewife wrote this to Xander.
Actions speak louder than words, and I don't know, nor know if I am, or ever really was, valued or appreciated by you, and that's upsetting. I've barely started writing, and my mind is already just elsewhere, I guess.
Xander responded to this message saying,
You have this completely wrong. I would leave her in a heartbeat for you, but you don't see me like that. I didn't lie about my feelings last night.
In Volsi's tell-all Google document, she claimed that whenever she confronted Xander, he would manipulate her into thinking that everything was fine and that she was just imagining things. She explained that he would tell her that she was insecure, belittle her, and say that she was overreacting. Volsi also opened up and shared that this all took a toll on her mental health because she was too scared to leave the relationship. Clearly, Housewife was a major issue between Volsi and Xander, and according to Volsi, she was a younger person who wasn't of legal age yet. This allegation was backed up with more screenshots of messages between her and Xander where the housewife's age had been discussed. In a message, Xander says,
I did a lot of horrible stuff, and for what? I never thought you'd be the person to tell people. I don't blame you, but it's just so dumb. I only brought this up because a long-time chatter of mine donated 5 subs and then said, I know what you've done.
Volsi responded saying,
No one knows to the extent of it other than me.
And Xander then said,
People know she was a younger person.
Notably, Xander's own message puts her age a year younger than what Volsi had claimed. Then Volsi said,
People already knew that though.
And to that, Xander then replied,
No.
At that point, Volsi ended the conversation, saying that she had to go, but Xander didn't end things there. He said,
No one actually knew.
After the document was released, it did not take long for members of his team to have their say, and later in the day, on March 6, 2025, Sean Romani Cook, a fellow team member of Xander's, tweeted on behalf of the team.
Recently, myself and the team at MFC have seen this post. We do not support this behavior. We fully support the victims and will be cutting ties with Xander.
Then, shortly after that announcement, Xander also posted saying that he would be permanently stepping back and apologize to his fans and friends. With the story out in the open, the very next day on March 7th, 2025, the Sportsgrail Online News shared an article about the allegations against Xander. The headline read, Overwatch streamer Newish, aka New, accused of physical violence and taking advantage of younger people by ex-girlfriend Volsi as he quit streaming amidst controversy drama. Within a short time of Volsi's allegations being shared online, Xander's entire career was turned upside down. Liquipedia estimated that his approximate total winnings during his career was $7,184. On the site, he is also listed as retired. Finally, 9 months later on December 13th, 2025, Xander and Housewife went online and posted their own 17-page Google document, and they addressed all the allegations that had been made against him. In the statement, Housewife also had her say and made it clear that she and Xander were still great friends, and that's all they have ever been. For the first time, Housewife spoke and she said she had been falsely framed as a younger person. Xander ended the document with a short statement.
I've made mistakes. I'm not proud of some of my choices, but I'm also not the person I was painted as. I'm just asking for a fair read.
Xander wasn't done yet, because 2 months later, a day before his birthday on February 18th, 2026, he uploaded a video to YouTube that was titled,
My Response.
The video was just over 30 minutes long, and in it, he said that he was not going to allow himself to be beaten around by false allegations, and went into detail about them. Xander went into great detail and claimed that Volsi's messages had been heavily edited before she released the document online. According to him, entire conversations had been rewritten and messages were also deleted. He said that in total, Volsi made over 20,000 deletions. And just like Volsi did, he provided screenshots and proof of his allegations against her. But there was more. He went on to claim that Volsi had already explained why she edited the messages in a private Discord server. Apparently, according to Volsi, the boyfriend that she had at the time was breaking up with her because he found out that she was still in contact with Xander. She also said that he was even making fun of her for letting all the stuff that Xander had put her through happen in the first place. Volsi also allegedly claimed that her ex had said that he was going to go through all her DMs with Xander, so she changed things to make it seem like she wasn't as much of a doormat. In his YouTube video, Xander also took the opportunity to explain his initial response to the allegations that had been made against him. He said that at the time it was damage control and that all he wanted to do was leave gracefully. Xander claimed that he wanted to create distance between himself and his old friends so he could take the heat so that they wouldn't have to. He also added that he did not not regret doing anything that he had done because at the end of the day it protected his family from harassment and threats after the document went viral. On top of that, he said that at the time he didn't think that anyone would believe him. According to Xander, he and Volsi officially broke up on September 8, 2021, and he wanted to clarify that the 2 months after they broke up, Volsi moved in with him. This directly contradicts Volsi's account, who said she moved in within a couple of months of them meeting in February 2021 before their breakup. He said that when she moved in with him, he had set a clear boundary that her moving in didn't mean that they were going to date again. That said, Xander went on to add that a few months later they did in fact date again after they moved into a new apartment that only had one bedroom. He said that the relationship was short-lived and he tried to break up with her multiple times. Xander then went on to explain that he and Volsi broke up on April 17th, 2023, and that he found her a new apartment so that she could move out. According to him, he gave her 3 months to move out, and during that time, she sat down and wrote him a letter. In that letter, she told him that she never meant to hurt him and that she felt the only way anyone would listen to or understand her was when she lashed out, and she ended up pushing him away while wanting him closer. And she shared that her rational side hates that she does this and wants her to be in control over her emotions and reactions. Volsi ended the letter by thanking Xander for always being there for her and loving her. He admitted that getting her to move out of his home was not an easy thing for him to do. Then he went on to say that he made a horrible mistake in the first place by letting her move in with him while he was trying to start a new relationship. He acknowledged that he was inconsiderate of her feelings and that it would have hurt her a lot to watch him date other women while she still liked him. He said that if he could turn back time, he would do things differently and admitted that he'd made a lot of mistakes. But what was said about him was very different from what really happened. Xander also shared that during his relationship with Volsi, he had often felt that the need to pull out his phone and record her. He said that one of those times was when they had a disagreement and he'd gone to his bedroom because he wanted to be alone, and when he did, Volsi struck him.
You look like a Karen. You know, they go into the retail stores. I'm recording you, this is going on Facebook. Like,
to date, Xander's YouTube video has been viewed 5,482 times, and there were people who responded to Xander's response to the allegations. One person said,
"Everyone deserves a fair listening, and I wholeheartedly encourage everyone to do so, because allegations like these can and have in the past heavily impacted an individual and those around them's lives, even when they are innocent."
Another said,
"How do people still believe Volsi? The proof is right here, and it's so clear. Bro, I know people like her, so..."
And then this person asked,
"Do you have any proof that Volsi and Housewife at least told you that they were over the age of 18?
Xander claimed that he tried to take legal action against Volsi and threatened a defamation lawsuit to force her to take down the document. He says her abuse allegations were false and that his leaked messages were taken out of context. But to date, he has not taken legal action against her. On the YouTube channel that he posted his response video on, he has also not posted any new content. With Xander's case, both sides had their own version of the events that happened and a so-called victim who eventually spoke out, claiming not to have been one in the first place. But in the next case, however, there was only one damning version that came from the accused himself.
One of the biggest Overwatch content creators right now, Red Shell got into hot water back in 2019 and 2020.
The next Mexican content creator managed to build his entire brand on being funny, relatable, and real with his audience, but his audience didn't know what he was doing in private. Waldo Red Shell Fernandez was born on September 2nd, 1997 in Mexico, and is a content creator and streamer who is mostly known as Red Shell for his humorous videos and streams that are centered around Overwatch. According to Wikitubia, a fan-made Wikipedia for online personalities, when Waldo was still at school, he used to sell stickers. These stickers featured Harambe, the gorilla whose 2016 death at the Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden became one of the internet's biggest memes. As he grew up, he became obsessed with Overwatch and he would spend hours playing it. Over time, he mastered the movement mechanics of one character, Lucio, and by completely changing how the character was played, he caught the attention of the wider competitive gaming scene. Waldo first established himself on Twitch, where he created his channel on May 20th, 2017, but his early Twitch streams weren't consistent or successful, and it wasn't until April 2018, almost a year later, that he started streaming regularly. Then, 2 months later on June 19th, 2018, he launched his primary YouTube channel, and after 2 months he uploaded his first video. The more he posted, the more popular he became for his entertaining streams. As he was creating and posting content, Waldo managed to make a few new online content creator friends. Two of those creators were SK and Frogger, who were also YouTubers and Overwatch players. They soon became pretty good friends and helped each other with their content, had fun conversations, and communicated through group chats chat in Discord. By November 2018, Waldo was 21, and with his growing audience, he was still talking to all kinds of people online, and one of those people was a girl who I will call Jane from here on out. When Waldo and Jane started chatting with one another, she told him that she was not yet of legal age, and his response was to ask her to send him a picture of herself. She did as he asked, and when he received an image of her, he responded,
"Cute girl."
Waldo kept talking to Jane after that and would tell her that he wanted to hang out and asked her for suggestions on what they should do together. Jane replied to Waldo, saying that they could use VR chat, a virtual world where people interact using avatars, but she said that's kind of lame, to which he replied,
"That's the peak of e-dating."
And this is when Jane said they hopped on a video call. According to her, Waldo asked her to send him a picture of her not wearing any clothes, and there were even times where he asked her to drink with him. While all of this was happening with Jane, Waldo kept building his following on Twitch and YouTube and picking up new viewers along the way. One of his followers on Twitch was a girl by the name of Rain. She was an avid viewer and subscriber who, according to screenshots, started to chat with Waldo in March 2019, just 4 months after he started talking to Jane. Screenshots show that Rain told Waldo her age, which was 6 years less than his, when they started chatting. About 3 months later, on June 3rd, 2019, during a live chat on a streaming platform where viewers message in real time, Rain told Waldo that she had just celebrated her birthday 2 weeks before that. Then, during one of Waldo's Twitch stream chats, 20 days later, Rain sent a message saying that she needed someone to send her $1 for a pizza delivery. She added that she would send inappropriate pics to whoever sent the money to her, and then immediately said that she was joking about that. Now, what's important to note here is that this was a public stream chat and not a private message, and Waldo did not miss that message in the chat section because he DM'd her, gave her his Snapchat username, and told him to add her as a contact, and then he went back and deleted that part of the message immediately. Waldo had sent her the $1.74 she had asked for, and when she saw that she had received money, she tagged Waldo and reminded him that she was a younger person. But she sent him a photo and then another one 7 minutes later anyway, and 2.5 hours later, she hopped on the chat once again to ask Waldo why he was still awake, as it was around 2 AM in his time zone, and he replied saying that he couldn't sleep. That's when Rain said in the chat,
"I made him feel awake."
While Waldo was in contact with Jane and Rain on March 27th, 2020, he reached out to Frogger and Eski for their opinions on someone who's an adult that likes a younger person. He then asked if that would be similar to what happened with Waleed Mufin Basal. Waleed was the professional Overwatch League player who was dropped from his team and cast out of the community in March 2020 for taking advantage of younger female fans. To put the timing of this question into perspective, right around the same time Waleed's situation dropped in early 2020, Waldo was busy asking his friends this exact question while still in contact with Jane and Rain. Frogger and Eski responded, saying that it would be weird, to which Waldo immediately brushed off their concern, doubling down on his actions by telling them,
"It's legal in my country."
3 months after this conversation on June 28, 2020, Rain said on Twitter that Waldo had inappropriate conversations with her and asked that she send him inappropriate photos, even though he knew she was a young person. But Waldo denied the claims and said that she was just a random viewer who was trying to twist the situation, and said he never asked for explicit photos. Then the following day on June 29th, 2020, another Twitter user, Lee, posted a twit longer of her own in which she exposed Waldo for communicating with a different girl who was also a younger person at the time. Waldo responded to the tweet that same day with a Google Doc explaining his side of the story. In it, he claimed that he and the girl were just friends and that their interactions had happened 2 or 3 years earlier. But the story was far from over, because the next day, Rain posted a response to Waldo's statement, and he fired back with a second Google Doc titled, "Random Girl Joins Asks for $1 for Pizza for Nudes," arguing against her claims. That same day, Lee posted her own response to reply to several claims made in Waldo's statement. First, she said his timeline was wrong since the interactions happened about a 1.5 years earlier, not 2 to 3 years ago. Lee also disputed his claim that the girl sent photos first, sharing screenshots that showed Waldo had asked for them himself after learning she was a younger person. Lastly, she said the screenshots showed Waldo was actively involved in the conversations too, since he replied often, suggesting hanging out, and even talked about things that they could do together. By July 1st, 2020, Rain shared a full response to Waldo's claims. While Waldo was trying to say that she was just some random viewer from his stream chat, Rain claimed that they had actually been in an online relationship since March 2019, which was months before the pizza money incident. But Waldo claimed that nothing happened after he sent her the money, and that he never spoke to her privately afterward because he was streaming at the time. To prove that, he shared screenshots of his chat logs from the stream. Rain responded by pointing back to the timeline she had already laid out, the stream ending at 12:31 in the morning, as well as the 13-minute gap before the photos and Waldo going live again 2.5 hours later, all accounted for by her saying goodbye in the chat. She claimed that during the gap between those streams, right after he ended the first one, was when she sent him 2 photos. The situation escalated even further when one of Waldo's moderators publicly responded to Rain's post, blaming her for the situation. In doing so, the moderator appeared to confirm that Waldo had asked for the photos in the first place. The scandal had done its damage, but before the community could fully process what had happened, Waldo made an announcement that shifted the focus of the conversation. 53 days later, on August 23rd, 2020, Waldo went online and announced that he had been diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin lymphoma, an aggressive type of cancer that affects the lymphatic and immune system. He shared with his followers that he would need to undergo chemotherapy, which would be starting the very next day. By August 29th, 2020, Waldo uploaded a video to YouTube that was called First Week of Chemo/Cancer Blog 1. After his video was posted, messages of support from Waldo's followers flooded the comment section, and it was clear that many of his fans wanted him to know that he was not alone. During this time, Waldo made a shift from standard gaming content to intermittent hospital vlogs that tracked his chemotherapy cycles. For a time, the diagnosis seemed to overshadow everything else, even the allegations that were still there and unresolved. 2 months later, on October 21st, 2020, Waldo deleted his messages to SK and Frogger on the Discord group chat and left the group. But deleting those messages didn't mean they were gone. Only 9 days later, on October 30th, 2020, SK logged into Twitter and posted a tweet that read,
Frogger and I used to have a group chat with #RedShellOW back before we knew that he was a creep. We were all good friends and would help each other with YouTube or streaming or just having fun conversations. After we found out who he really was, we cut all ties.
Along with this were damning screenshots, including the Discord conversation where Waldo had asked them their opinions on dating a younger person. In that very same post, SK said that they had found out that he had deleted every single message that he'd ever sent in the group chat, and that he couldn't believe he never saw the signs. On top of that, SK also added screenshots of a group message where they told him that there was no sense in deleting the images because they had already been screenshotted. People who saw SK's post did not hesitate to share their thoughts. One said,
This is disgusting as duck, and it's so weird to me that people still support him. Thank you for coming out with this and bringing more light to it.
Another said,
It makes me sick to see him still get so much support. He is a stain on this community that just doesn't go away. I'm so glad that you're bringing even more awareness to this issue. His followers need to know.
There were also quite a few questions with evidence against Waldo, and some asked Esky if he knew what the age of consent in Mexico is. Then one person even told Esky to quite literally go duck himself. This Twitter post most certainly did not come without a backlash. Waldo fired back 3 days later on November 3rd, 2020, threatening legal action against both Esky and Frogger, but no lawsuit was ever filed. By early 2021, Waldo updated his audience and shared that his first round of chemotherapy had been physically draining and emotionally traumatic. He also said that he would need a second round of chemo and would be taking significant breaks from streaming so that he could focus on his physical survival. Finally, on August 10th, 2021, Waldo uploaded a video called I Beat Cancer, and it went viral. When many of his fans saw this video go viral, they celebrated the good news with him. One follower said,
Hell dude, I've never laughed, cried, smiled and celebrated so much in one video. So glad to see her through this, dog. Much love. Red Shell crying at the end just truly shows how happy he is and how much he cares for his community.
Following his recovery, Waldo officially returned to streaming on July 20th, 2022, but found himself unhappy with the state of Overwatch 2. He openly cited game burnout and toxic community fatigue because staying in the Overwatch circle meant he constantly was put in positions where he had to answer for the 2020 scandal. Eventually, on April 9th, 2023, Waldo officially quit Overwatch, stepping away from Twitch for a short time and began focusing on creating other content. He leaned into his Mexican heritage and cultural background for humor and commentary in his reaction videos. This focus and quirky personality has clearly paid off, as to date, he now has 408,000 followers on Twitch and 1.22 million subscribers on YouTube. On YouTube alone, he has had more than 920 million total views of his videos. Waldo operates out of Mexico, where he records and broadcasts his content, and his main channel description reads,
I'm just a guy who got lucky, not special.
While the 2020 scandal was largely faded, Waldo still gets into trouble from time to time with Twitch's terms of service. In late 2025, he had a massive 1-month ban and also faced additional temp suspensions in early 2026 for community guideline violations during his live broadcasts. At the moment, Waldo remains cut off from the professional Overwatch scene and continues to stream on Twitch and upload gameplay and reaction videos to YouTube as a content creator. But while this case played out entirely online, the next one didn't.
reported in this country every year. Those are the reported ones, and many of them involve victims who are drugged.
One September night, a group met up for drinks at a Las Vegas beach club, and out of that group, 2 people arrived together and left together. And what happened that evening destroyed a friendship, ended a career, and brought in the police. Desiree Luna, known online as Crystalline, was a streamer on Twitch who mostly played Overwatch and other popular shooting games. On top of actually playing games, she would also spend a lot of time just talking to and hanging out with her viewers on camera. Because Crystalline was active in the Overwatch gaming community, she became close friends with the professional players and team staff like Max Bateman, who had joined NRG Esports in September 2016. NRG is a professional gaming and entertainment organization that is based in Los Angeles, California, and they were the company that owned and operated the San Francisco Shock Overwatch League team. Max worked as an NRG team manager, and his job was to take care of the players' daily needs so that they could focus entirely on playing video games. He didn't coach them on how to win. Instead, he managed things like their housing, planning their daily schedules, organized their travel to tournaments, and made sure they had food and the proper equipment that they needed. On September 30th, 2017, Crystalline and Max left his place and headed toward a Las Vegas beach club. To Crystalline, this was just a fun night out with a longtime friend, but she had no idea that within hours, the evening would take a dark turn. When they arrived at the club, they joined several NRG players Crystalline knew from the community. The group socialized and had a few drinks, and then a little later in the evening, Max made Crystalline a drink, which she drank. After finishing her drink, she started to feel dizzy, confused, and sick, and soon she was dry heaving. Max saw that Crystalline was unwell, so he suggested that they leave the club, and the two then took an Uber back to his place to fetch her house keys, which she had left in his car early on. When Crystalline and Max reached his place, the two went inside, and Crystalline laid down on his couch and fell asleep. Sometime later, she woke up coughing and noticed she had blood in her saliva, then moved from the couch to Max's bed. Crystalline woke up at around 9 AM on October 1st, 2017. When she woke up, she wasn't sure if something had happened the night before, because according to her, the previous evening was a blur. She then asked Max to drive her home, and when she was finally home, she noticed that there was a bloody discharge from her private area. With that, she tried to replay the evening back in her head. Over the next few days, Crystalline started to remember more about the night and then contacted Max and confronted him via text message. Max didn't try to deny anything or make excuses. Instead, he came clean and sent back a text that read,
"Yes, I realize what I did was wrong."
And those 8 words, she had the written proof she needed to take action. On October 5th, Crystalline went to a doctor for a checkup and to get some blood work done. The next day, Crystalline went straight to the Las Vegas police to report what Max had done to her. As she waited for the case to be investigated, he was brought in for questioning and even tried to settle the matter privately. Ultimately, the police told Crystalline that they couldn't charge him due to a lack of evidence. But that did not stop Crystalline, because on Sunday, November 5th, exactly a month after her visit to the doctor, she took matters into her own hands, went online, and published a full statement on Twitlonger saying,
"I had a normal amount of drinks and started to feel sick, which wasn't normal. The last one I had was made by Max. I started to feel dizzy and confused and started to dry heave. That's when Max suggested we should just leave, so we Ubered back to Max's place to get my house keys. He was supposed to drive me home after I had gotten my keys. The next thing I remember is falling asleep on Max's couch and woke up because I was coughing up saliva and blood. I went into his room to lay down. He was in there playing games on his computer and left to go clean up the couch. After he was finished, he came back into the room and played games for a couple more hours. At this point, I was in and out of consciousness. I remember Max laying next to me but didn't think anything of it because we've shared a bed in the past and nothing's happened. That's when he SA'd me. In my mind, I knew what was happening wasn't right, but I couldn't move. I was frozen. After I woke up, I got my keys from his car and he dropped me off at home."
That statement caught the attention of NRG Esports, Max's employer, who acted quickly, and the very next day on November 6th, 2017, Andy Miller, the founder and chairman of NRG Esports and owner of Shock, tweeted that Max no longer worked for them. Many people shared their views on Andy's announcement. One person said,
"Good move. Now let's talk about filling that position."
Then another said,
"Extreme respect for this. Thank you for standing strong."
And another person made this statement,
"Hope you guys have proof. Don't know how you laws are, but here wrongful dismissal can be costly."
But for Max, the story was far from over, and the following day, November 7th, 2017, Max logged into Twitter and pushed back. He claimed that Crystalline's account of the events of that night was not 100% true and that her allegations are false. Max said that he did speak to the police and showed a detective evidence of Crystalline socializing with him on several occasions after the alleged incident took place. According to him, this happened just 4 days after the beach club on October 3rd. He claimed that while Crystalline was confronting him over text, she was also talking with him about hotel plans for a gaming convention. Max argued that her being willing to share a room and hanging out with him that week proved the allegations were false. Max also said that he would not be answering any questions and would be taking the matter through the correct legal processes and not the public domain. Meanwhile, Crystalline then posted more about the incident online. In one post, she wrote,
"In case anyone thinks I'm lying or just trying to seek attention, here are some texts between us after everything happened."
Crystalline showed her own screenshots of text messages that she and Max had sent one another. In those exchanges, Max admitted what I did was wrong and pleaded for her forgiveness. She also wrote,
"Being best friend with someone means trusting them with your entire heart. It seems so surreal to be putting this out into the world. I never thought that this would happen to me, especially by one of my closest friends. I'm embarrassed to admit this happened to me even though I know I shouldn't be. Since we were so close, we happen to have a lot of mutual friends, and I'm posting this in hopes it doesn't happen to anyone else. SA is a serious issue and an act of violence. It's more common than we think, and some people are too scared or ashamed to say anything, or some people think nothing wrong had happened because you were dating or best friends. People who had it happen to them shouldn't be afraid to speak up."
By November 8th, various online news outlets were sharing the story. After leaving NRG, Max's career in professional gaming was over, and he hasn't returned to a public role in esports since. Crystalline's story after the 2017 allegations followed a similar path. The accusations drew a lot of public attention, harassment, and arguments, and she stopped actively streaming as Crystalline and mostly stepped away from the Overwatch and esports community. While some cases end without legal action, this final case escalated all the way to a criminal conviction.
Many are accused of crimes against, but a majority don't face the full punishment sought by the state.
It's not that the punishment isn't harsh enough. We're just struggling to get the person convicted of that.
In South Korea, the path from promising young players to professional roster spots is very competitive. Tae In-yoon had already walked that path faster than most, but what nobody saw coming was how quickly it would all unravel, not because of a rival, but because of someone he once loved. Tae In-yoon, also known as Free, was born on March 29, 2000 in South Korea. He loved gaming and broke into the Overwatch Contenders Korea scene in May 2017 and started his career with a South Korean team called LW Red, a team that was known for developing players who'd later reach the Overwatch League. Following his time there, he briefly moved over to Team Kongdu on SEA in August 2017 to compete in the prestigious Apex Season 4, which was one of Korea's most competitive Overwatch tournaments at the time. And then the following year in 2018, Tae-in became well known in the competitive Overwatch community while playing for Team 7. Back in November 2018, he had started dating a girl who I'll call Jenna, and at the start of their relationship, both of them were classified as minors under Korean law. Career-wise, he seemed to be moving up in the ranks, and personally, things also looked promising. By the time February 2019 came around, his growing reputation earned him a spot on the high-profile squad GC Busan Wave, and he was quickly becoming a well-known name in the competitive gaming scene. But his personal life took a hit when Jenna and him broke up in mid-April of the same year. But despite his breakup, Tae-in continued to focus on his gaming career, and that paid off when later that month, on April 29th, he was signed as a new player for the newly formed North American team called Meta Skyfoxes. Even though they had broken up with one another, Tae-in and Jenna still kept in contact, and after some back and forth messaging, the two agreed to meet up 19 days later on May 18th. That said, before their meeting, Jenna made it very clear to Tae-in that she would only go out with him under the condition that there was to be no physical contact, and Tae-in agreed to the boundaries that she had set. When Tae-in and Jenna met up on May 18th, 2019, he hugged and kissed her on the cheek, and sometime during their meeting, Jenna fell asleep. Their meetup took place in a room cafe, which in South Korea are pretty popular private indoor spaces that have TVs, floor seating, or mats where couples hang out. After their meeting, the two went their separate ways, and the very next day, on May 19th, 2020, Jenna sent Tae-in a message about what had happened when they met. In the message, she confronted Tae-in with the statement,
"You touched me inappropriately while I was sleeping."
He sent a one-word reply to that message.
"Sorry."
For Jenna, sorry wasn't enough because 27 days later on June 14th, 2019, 2019, Jenna logged into her Twitter account and created a post that turned Tae-in's life upside down in 24 hours. In her post, she accused him of touching her while she slept when she visited him the previous month. Jenna's original tweets were written in Korean but were translated by a Twitter user with the username Gatamchum, who is an Overwatch esports fan and translator. According to those translations, the tweet read,
I clearly remember what you did to me. You took my clothes off while I was sleeping and touched me. I didn't want to ruin your career, so I kept quiet, but your attitude is so ducked. Because of you, I was traumatized and unable to function for a while. You're great at acting like nothing's happened for an intimate assaulter. Yes, I'm talking about Free, formerly of Kongdu Unsia, 7 and GC Busan Wave.
In her post, Jenna said she didn't want to ruin Tae-in's career, but the trauma eventually made it impossible to move on. Within hours of Jenna's allegations becoming public, Meta Skyfoxes announced that they would be handling the situation internally, and shortly after, they released Tae-in from the team. When this happened, Tae-in responded on Twitter and promised to tell his side of the story in more detail. What he said was,
I would like to sincerely apologize to the lady in question who was hurt by my actions and the fans who cheered me on.
Tae-in also added that there were some untrue things that had become accepted as the truth, and that he would clarify those when he had returned to Korea. The very next day, on June 15th, 2019, Dextro, a media and entertainment website, shared the news that Tae-in no longer had a contract with Meta Skyfoxes under the headline, Overwatch Contenders player released after intimate assault allegations. Despite the serious allegations against him, Tae-in kept his word, and on June 17th, 2019, he posted a much longer response on Twitter to the accusations that had been made against him. In this post, Tae-in confirmed that he and Jenna had gone out on a date on May 18th after they had broken up the month before. He also admitted that he had hugged and kissed her after she had asked him not to before they met. Then he went into a little more detail about her allegations and said that he never took off her clothes or touched her while she was asleep. Next, Tae-in went on to discuss the private Facebook message between the two of them that she had shared with other people online. In that message, she had said that he was the one who had touched her while she was sleeping, and Tae-in had replied to that message saying sorry. He explained that his sorry referred to the kiss on the cheek, not any inappropriate touching while she slept. By the time Tae-in told his side, he had already lost his contract with Meta Skyfoxes, but he still managed to keep playing Overwatch professionally. About 5 months later, he joined an unsponsored South Korean team called Batilika and competed with this squad behind the scenes for several months. On June 15th, 2020, OZ Gaming bought and joined forces with the Batilika team, and on July 1st, 2020, he was signed with a South Korean esports organization called OZ Gaming. But it wasn't going to be smooth sailing from there on out, because behind the scenes, Korean law enforcement still had to decide whether or not to investigate the allegations that had been made against him, and they did. Tae-in was criminally charged and brought to trial under a South Korean law designed to protect young people from exploitation. In Korea, anyone under the age of 19 is considered to be minor. Tae-in's birthday is on March 29th, and when his special day came around in 2019, he had just turned 19. That means that when the alleged incident happened, he had only been legally classified an adult for barely 7 weeks. In court, Tae-in's lawyer said that the incident was a crime of love committed out of affection when he saw her sleeping with her head on his arm. His lawyers argued the age gap was small enough that he should not face the harsher sentence reserved for crimes against younger people, but the court did not accept this argument. The court pointed out that even though Jenna had clearly stated she did not want any physical contact between them before they entered the room cafe, Tae-in had still forcibly inappropriately touched her while she was sleeping and essayed her when she woke up and tried to leave. The court noted that it wasn't just the physical incident that harmed Jenna. It was watching Tae-in compete and be celebrated afterward while she couldn't function. And because of the extra harm, the court decided that a prison sentence was necessary. On September 10th, 2020, Seoul court found Tae-in guilty of the charges against him. Judge Jung-min Lee sentenced 20-year-old Tae-in to 1 year in prison alongside a 40-hour rehabilitation program. After he was sentenced, he admitted his wrongdoing and apologized to Jenna and her parents. After the court had made its decision, OZ Gaming ended their contract with Tae-in and admitted they had kept him on despite the allegations and only listened to Tae-in's side of the story without conducting a proper investigation themselves. On September 14th, 2020, a digital media website that covers Asian and Asian American news reported Tae-in's story under the headline, Pro Overwatch player gets 1 year in jail in Korea. On Wikipedia, Overwatch's player information pages, Tae-in's page does not even have a photo of himself, and his current status is noted as retired. In his short career, he earned approximately $9,640 in winnings before his gaming days came to an end. After his prison sentence, he now lives a completely private life.